Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I talk about 4 pillars of freedom: time, location, emotional, and health freedom. And in that regard, I'm always interviewing guests that are doing out-of-the-box, cutting-edge things, marketing, business owners, investors, entrepreneurs. Today, we have a marketing expert, particularly in SEO. And SEO is really an interesting concept, and it's an interesting skill to acquire and master, especially if you want to rank up in the search engines such as YouTube, blogging, Google, etc. So today we have David Fox, and he's actually an SEO marketing expert, and we're going to talk all about what it is, the advantages, maybe get some few tips, and we'll go from there. So David, welcome.
Thank you. How's it? How are you?
Good. This is a really informal podcast, and I'm always bringing on, very interesting people. I like to talk and see different viewpoints. So Tell us more about yourself, how you got started, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, sure. I was teaching music for about 10 years, almost 10 years ago. I'm a music teacher for most of my adult life, I guess. I'm a musician. I write songs. I'm an artist. I was more into the arts for a long time. And then as I was going along, I was like, this is really not making me a lot of money, typically the starving artist, all that stuff. So that was sort of beginning to frustrate me more. I went to school for fine art, and it was cool. But then as the thing is, they don't really teach you a lot about marketing in the fine arts program that I was in, which is, I think, kind of unfortunate, because when I got out of university, I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just start walking into galleries and applying to different positions for art. And it was a lot harder than I thought it would be, because I just wasn't prepared for that kind of what that was. So then I just kind of stayed in the arts for a long time, maybe 10 or 15 years. And then at some point I switched over to online marketing, just because I hadn't really looked into it. But then there was just one year where I basically was really, really broke. And I was desperate to find something else other than just teaching music and stuff. And then I stumbled into online marketing and basically went from there. So at first it seemed like I wasn't I am a computer kind of person. I've been using computers for my whole life, but I never was an online marketing type of person. So it was all new to me at that point. And I just sort of at first it seemed a little suspicious, because I'm people were making all these kind of grand claims and stuff like that. And I'm like, is this for real? I couldn't figure out if it was actually, a viable thing. And then over the years, I started just kind of sinking my teeth into it and getting the hang of it. And then now it's sort of that's what I do for a living. So
yeah, what's interesting is, you kind of grew up in the very early stages and in what online marketing is now. So try and compare, take us on a journey from when you started online marketing to now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because when I got into it, it was 2000. And so when I actually really got into it, it was I realized I was kind of a bit late to the party, because there was certain updates that had already happened. I'm pretty sure Panda already happened, if you know what that is. And just certain Google updates that were a big deal at the time. And certain websites were just couldn't use certain tactics to rank anymore. And I'm oh, I guess I'm late to this party. What do I do now? Because there were certain things that you could do at that point that were beginning to be big mistakes. If you did certain things, you were you were screwed. So I was just trying to get my bearings as far as what the rules were, as far as Google's latest updates and stuff like that. And just in general, how websites were being kind of constructed, because 2014, it was there's like the people that have been in online marketing since like the early 2000s, right? So for them, it's like it'd been like over a decade of like doing this kind of stuff. And then for me, it was just like, it was brand new. So, and even since then, it's been like 7 years since then. So it's a lot has changed in that time as well. Yeah. So
Yeah. What's interesting is, you talked about index and search and ranking. So, this falls into the area of search engine optimization. So, tell the audience about like search, like what it is, how it works, and your experience with that.
Yeah, well, like initially when I was making websites, I was going about it all wrong. Just like I didn't have a clear idea of what like SEO was really about. But it's basically just a series of best practices which you apply to your website to make Google connect with your website properly, right? So one thing is like Search Console, which used to be called Webmaster Tools. I use a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It's a platform that Google offers for free. It's similar to analytics, but it's actually like more like your hub with Google, where you have to submit a sitemap for your website. It basically does like diagnostics for your website, and you can see if anything's really wrong with it. And then you can also see like what it's ranking for. So once you have your website set up, then you can basically go into Search Console and like check things like crawl errors and just like the latest kind of like, information on your website, like which keywords are ranking. It's different from analytics in that it actually does offer keywords. So that's like the big deal for me, because it tells you which keywords a certain post is actually being searched for. So that's valuable information. It's sort of like, I use it like in conjunction with analytics to actually like kind of paint a bigger picture. A lot of people use analytics and stuff that are kind of like, built-in plugins that work with WordPress or something. And I find them sort of unreliable, especially when you consider that like analytic will track your traffic. So if you're working on your website, if you don't do an IP exclusion, it will just track you and you'll think that your traffic in the beginning is like, you're doing okay, but actually it's just you working on your website. So stuff like that.
Yeah. It's all, a lot of my friends, they're tech, and they're talking, it's all about analytics, the data, the traffic, the clicks, the conversion. Yeah. And if you can really understand your customer, what they're searching for, and you provide content, it's very powerful. Tell us, I guess, you mentioned a couple of to check your website, and how would people learn more about SEO, and just from basic beginner, how could one get started?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, you have to have a website that's sort of like functional. So a lot of people kind of confuse SEO, I think, with website design or something, because like I run an SEO company, and when I talk to people about what I do and stuff, they think that I'm like I'm going to make them a beautiful website with my designing skills, but I'm not really like a website designer in that sense. I'm more like a website I do like auditing and kind of like diagnostics, because that's more important to me than the actual like how beautiful it is, even though like it's nice if it looks nice. But at the same time, like you can get a theme for your website that if it looks really nice, but then there's like weird problems, like you could use like what's that thing? There's like if you use too much like if you use flash animation, or if you use like the wrong kind of code, like Google just doesn't even read it. So you might fancy up your website a little bit, and then Google just like doesn't even look at it, because it's just like it doesn't even know what to do with that code. So like there's certain code that basically like your basic HTML that's on your website where Google can understand it, but other stuff that you kind of add on top of it, Google might not understand what that is. So it also like you're basically trying to rank in Google like at all times, because Google is the biggest search engine, and then second to that is like Bing or whatever. So, which functions in much the same way. So you basically want to please Google. If you're trying to rank for anything at all, you want to be like in the Google index. So you have to have an understanding of like the fact that Google is basically an index and a search engine at the same time. So it's like a like a directory, And if your website isn't properly calibrated, then it basically won't put you in the directory. So that's some explanation right there.
Have you ever been de-indexed? I know you talk about that.
Yes, I have been de-indexed, and it was like a very bad day and a bad month. Basically, it was terrible. Like it basically, when you're de-indexed, you're out of Google. So like at a certain, if you do something wrong, if you do the wrong thing, you'll get what's called like a manual action penalty. Have you ever had this?
I've never had.
Yeah, it's like the worst nightmare of like a person with a website, because it means you're not going to show up for anything. You've been penalized, and you have to basically prove to them that you like shouldn't be in the box, you know? So yeah, it's bad news.
It sounds like getting deplatformed from, or YouTube, or,
Yeah, you're out. And it's actually really unfair, because the reason I got de-indexed, and this is sort of important for people to know, is that we can talk about backlinks. We can talk about like inbound links to your website where people are linking to you. So you do want to have inbound links to your website, because Google is judging your trustworthiness based on your like social proof, the links that are coming to your websites. That's another thing that Search Console does, is tracks your inbound links. So it's a free way to track your inbound links. Like it'll give you like a list of all the domains that are linking to you in Search Console. These are things that you can get with other tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, that kind of thing. So it's like those things you can pay to like, track your backlinks, like, because people make an effort to get these links pointed to them. So if you have a good batch of backlinks, you'll get better credibility in Google, and it will actually like rank you higher based on like, who's ranking to you. But then there's a whole bunch of stuff where if the spammers are out there spamming your website with really bad backlinks, and then if you get like too many of them, which you won't even know that you have them, Google will then take the opportunity to like ban you at that point. So it's a dangerous situation.
Yeah. The other interesting is, I know you're going to discuss that, but is being de-indexed worse than being canceled in a woke society? What is a woke society?
Well, I mean, like, I don't know, like the, political leanings of the listeners, but, I guess to answer your question, it's like, being indexed is like the worst thing that can happen, because like, I think cancelability or whatever, like you can possibly bounce back from that, because being canceled is kind of like, that concept is a little bit, like, I don't care about that concept myself, because I don't tie my personal like identity to my website. People don't generally cancel websites, they cancel people, right? So if I'm like, behind a website and I'm like the admin of a website, and that is the equivalent of being canceled on the Google level, but people aren't even aware that you necessarily even run a website. So, because you don't have to like necessarily put your name on it. Like, do you know what like a who is check is?
Is that, I don't know what that is. Tell me what that is.
It's like the thing where people can like look at your website and see who's like, who owns the website. It's like a typical check that you can have. If you have like, when you get a website, you can often get a plugin, which is called like Who Is Guard. And Who Is Guard is like a thing that, makes your identity anonymous on your own website. So if you don't have like some kind of like identity protection, it'll be like, who owns this website? And it's like, oh, this guy, he lives right here, and this is his address. And like, it'll tell like the internet, it'll be like public information on the internet, unless you purposely hide it from people. So yeah, like as far as the woke, like it's sort of irrelevant, I guess. Like the woke people are irrelevant when it comes to websites, because they're just reading articles and they're kind of funneling in from Google via search terms. So like, it depends if the search term itself is woke or not. Like if you have a woke website or versus the opposite of a woke website, right?
Right.
So then it's, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense, I don't know.
That's quite interesting. So, this has been really, you're quite interesting, and I like how you approach online marketing, and you have a good understanding and how you approach it with art and music. How can people contact you, follow you, etc.?
Well, I have my SEO website, which is .ninja SEO. It's like a consultancy for businesses, mainly small businesses that are trying to figure out SEO. That's where I kind of like do my SEO stuff. And there's a blog there with all sorts of information on it. And I'm also known as Young Coconut on Spotify. So I have like a thing for that, which is like, that's where my musical outlet. And I also have my davidcharlesfoxart.com, which is my art website. And then I have a bunch of other websites that I probably won't mention, but they're like out there floating around, getting traffic and stuff like that are just like my niche websites. But I don't really tie my identity to them. I just use them for like making money. So.
And it's been a fascinating conversation for all the listeners out there. David's resources, his social media will be in the links and show notes. So David, thanks so much. And it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad I could be on.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.